Hello and welcome to the first IU13 Financial Wellness Session for 2017, Retirement on the Horizon. My name is Andrew Barninger and we are Personal Wealth Advisory. For those of you who are joining us at the Financial Wellness Series for the first time, welcome, and welcome back to anybody who has joined us at a session in the past. For everybody here, something new this year is what you are watching right now. We are offering video casts, really a condensed recap of the live sessions. So what that means for you is if you are unable to make it to a live session on a topic that interests you, keep an eye out for communication from the IU13 or your school district for the video cast of the session. Obviously, we do encourage you to attend the live sessions when possible. It gives you a great opportunity to ask questions, hear what your colleagues are asking and thinking and saying. And we also have a heck of a lot of fun as well. But know that we will have a condensed version offered here in the video cast that will be distributed a couple days or a week or so after the live sessions. Let's talk a little bit about the webpage that you are viewing. To the right of this video, you can find the dates for the upcoming sessions. All of these sessions are held live at the IU13 Conference Center. We have a 4 o'clock session and a 5 o'clock session to try to capture as many schedules as possible. Down below the video window, you can learn a little bit more about me and Personal Wealth Advisory. If you have a question about something you hear in the video or something more specific to your situation, or if you want to schedule some time to get together, you can simply use the contact form below to get in touch with me directly, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. To the right, we also have some resources about our history, Personal Wealth Advisory, with helping our local educators retire successfully. So before we dive in, let's take a brief minute to discuss who we are. Personal Wealth Advisory is a local, independent financial planning firm. We've been helping educators make good financial decisions regarding their retirement for over 35 years. We are happy to have partnered with the IU13 for our third year in bringing the financial wellness program to its employees and also the employees, staff, and administrators of the local school districts. Today, we are going to be discussing 3 distinct challenges facing retiring educators. And our goal for you is to leave this session feeling more informed about retiring within the PSERS system and how to transition into that next phase of your life successfully. So what are these challenges that we are going to address? Number 1, we want to be sure that you understand your PSERS benefits and have an idea of how to select the right options for you. Number 2, navigating the PSERS retirement process. With working with our clients, we have a general idea of what that process looks like and what the steps are along the way. And we get a lot of questions about that. So we want you to be informed on what that process looks like. And above all else, deciding if retirement is right for you. Is this a good decision for you right now? And we have a couple of client stories to talk about regarding that, because yes, there are financial implications to retirement. We want to make sure that you pick the right pension option and make good decisions regarding that, and you're comfortable with the time frame where events occur. But more importantly, and where we see the value in talking about this, is deciding if transitioning to that next phase of your life, whatever that may be, is a good decision for you. So we will talk about that a little bit as well. So let's start with discussing your PSERS benefits. And before we dive into the various pension options and benefits and all those good things, it's good to take a step back and discuss how your benefits are calculated. You go through your career, hearing and knowing that you're going to have a pension there for you, but very few people actually know how those benefits are calculated. It's an interesting calculation. For most of you watching, who are in the range of deciding on retirement, you are very likely a TD class member of PSERS. Those in PSERS are broken down into various classes, TE, TD, TF, there's a couple others, really based on when you started in the system. And each of those classes receive different benefits. So for those folks in the TD class, which very likely are many of you watching here, you start with a factor of 2.5, which is great, because those folks in earlier classes that have been working less in the system, less time, have a 2% factor. So the 2.5% is a good benefit to have. So we take that 2.5% factor and we multiply it by your final average salary. And what that means for most people is we take the highest 3 years of salary. For most people, again, this is the last 3 years of salary, and we average them. And then we multiply that by 2.5. And then we take our years of credited service, whether that's 20, 25, 30, 35 or more, and we add that factor into the equation. So the longer you are in the system, the more credited years of service you have, the higher your pension benefit will be. And finally, all that together gives us our maximum benefit, our maximum PSERS benefit. And we'll talk a little bit about that and why many people end up not actually receiving that, which is not a bad thing. As many of you surely know, there are several benefit payment options that you have to choose from when retiring in the PSERS system. And there are 5 of those to be exact. The very aptly named options 1 through 4, and then we have the maximum single life annuity option as well. So let's take a little bit of time to go through each of those very briefly, so you can begin thinking about which one of these might work best in your situation. As the name suggests, the maximum single life annuity provides the highest monthly benefit to you. This is also that bottom line of the equation, the maximum payment option. As I said, with this option, you receive the highest monthly benefit. The trade-off there, and what you'll find here is a pattern of trade-offs that you are deciding between with PSERS and your various retirement decisions. The trade-off here is that there is no benefit for your survivor, so for a spouse beneficiary, when taking the maximum pension option. So that could be a drawback for someone who has a spouse and wants to provide a benefit for them if they were to pass away. The one caveat to that is that if you look at page 2 of your benefit estimate, if you have an old one or have received a new one back in June and you have that, on page 2 you will see your contributions and interest, everything that you have contributed to the system, and we're going to talk about that later on. But that contributions and interest with the maximum benefit option is your theoretical death benefit. That is what a spouse beneficiary will receive if you were to pass away, your contributions and interest. However, for every benefit payment that you are provided each month, that contributions and interest amount is reduced dollar for dollar. So after so many years, those contributions and interest will be used up as you take benefit payments, and there may be nothing left there for a spouse. So that is the main thing to know about the maximum annuity option, is that it provides the highest benefit for you, with the caveat being that there is likely not going to be much, if anything, left for a surviving beneficiary. Option 1 provides the second highest monthly pension benefit, a little bit less than the maximum single life option that we just discussed. Here, the calculation is a little bit more complicated. We won't get too far into the weeds for this video. If you have a question on it, please use the box below to get in touch with me. With option 1, you are assigned a present value to your PSERS account. So there's a calculation, and if you were to select option 1, you get a present value. As you receive monthly payments from your pension, your present value is reduced dollar for dollar, very similarly to what we just discussed with the contributions and interest being reduced with the maximum option. So every month, if your benefit is $2,000, your present value is going to be reduced by $2,000 a month, or $24,000 a year. And eventually, if you live long enough, it will be reduced to zero. So option 1 provides a lifetime benefit, same as the maximum option, with a greater potential to leave something to a beneficiary in the form of a lump sum. And what we mean there is any dollars that are left in that present value after you, the pensionee, pass away is a potential death benefit for a beneficiary. But again, if you live long enough and take enough pension options, usually the break even is about 21 years. After that time, there may not be anything left for a spouse beneficiary. Option 2, in our experience working with educators, is the most popular option for those who are married and have a spouse. Again, not right for everybody, but in our experience, it has been the most utilized option, and there's good reason for that. Here, your monthly benefit is a little bit lower than option 1, but what we're doing is providing a lifetime benefit for the pensionee. And that benefit, let's say it's $2,000 a month, lasts for your lifetime. And if and when you pass away and your spouse is still living, it will also last for your spouse's lifetime. So if you were receiving $2,500 a month and you get that payment for 30 years and you pass away and your spouse is still alive, they will continue to get that $2,500 a month for the rest of their lifetime, however long that may be. So for financial planning purposes, where we have that predictable income for this lifetime of two spouses, that resonates with many people, and our married pensioners like that option. But again, not right for everybody. Again, the trade-off there is we're taking a little bit of a lower benefit in exchange for providing lifetime income to our spouse if we are to pass away. Option number 3, in our experience, has been sparingly used. This option is similar to option 2. The difference is that the benefit is a little bit higher than option 2. But in exchange, we are leaving only 50% to a spouse. So rather than 100% of our benefit being left to a spouse if we pass away, only 50% is left to our spouse. So similar to option 2, a little bit less to our spouse in exchange for a higher monthly benefit. Option 4 really is the redheaded stepchild of PSERS benefit options in our experience. This option is called customized in quotes, and really we have the flexibility to use a couple of different options to build a customized benefit for you. We can leave different amounts to our survivor in exchange for a higher or lower benefit. So there's some things you can do there. I don't believe we have used this for any of our educator clients. Not to say it wouldn't work for you, but again, something that hasn't been used extensively in our experience. That wraps up our overview of the 5 pension options. We did that fairly quickly, and we didn't go too far in the weeds just for time purposes. But if you have a question or want to discuss the options in more depth, meaning what works for you, if you are married or not married, maybe your spouse has a pension or a retirement income as well, and you're trying to mix and match and see what works. Please, if you have a question, use the box below to send me an email with your question. I'll get back to you, either to answer a question or to find some time just to go over your situation and see which option might work best for you. We are very happy to offer that. Contributions and interest, something in the live session last week that we spent a lot of time on, and there are always a lot of questions about contributions and interest. So let's hit on that a little bit. Some people have a hard time believing that PSERS is willing to give some of your money back, if not all of the contributions that you've made, with interest, which is great. That's a pretty good deal. However, as we said, the pattern here, PSERS is trade-offs, and there is a trade-off for taking your contributions and interest out of the system. So let's talk a little bit about that. If you have your PSERS benefit statement, or can rustle up an old one and look at page 2, and near the top you'll see a grid there, and you'll see a number indicating all of the contributions that you've made throughout your career, 6.5% or 7.5% per pay for 20, 25, 30 plus years. That number is indicated there. And PSERS has been nice enough to offer a 4% fixed interest rate on top of that. So your contributions have been growing in your theoretical PSERS account, which is great. The important thing to know is that you have the ability, as you are retiring from PSERS, to pull out those contributions and interest if you decide. The trade-off here is by pulling those contributions and interest out and putting them into a retirement account of your own, your benefit, whichever option you choose, the single life option all the way down to option 4, any option in there, your benefit will be reduced. It will still last for your lifetime, but it will be a lower amount in exchange for you having control of that lump sum of contributions and interest. Common question that we get here is, when you say pulling out your money, what does that mean? Well, you do have options. If you do decide to pull that lump sum out, you can roll it into a retirement account of your own, which generally allows you to avoid income taxation on that sum of money. You can also pull it out and use it for whatever you may want to use it for, whether that's buying a boat, a beach house. But know that every dollar that you pull out of there, Uncle Sam and the IRS have their eyes on it, and they are hungry for your tax dollars because you have been deferring tax on that throughout your whole career. And for some of you, that could be a long time. So you got to watch out for the tax consequences of pulling the contributions and interest out and not sending it directly to a retirement plan. That is what we want to do if we want to avoid paying income tax on that. Again, if you have a question on that, please use the email form below. Let's take a moment to hit on a few frequently asked questions in regards to the pension options before we move on to some of these other challenges. We do get all kinds of great questions, and in the live session we had a lot of really good questions answered and asked. So a typical question is, are my benefits taxed? And if so, how are they taxed? Unfortunately, I have to say you can bet that they are taxed. As I said, the IRS has been waiting a very long time to get their hands on your pension benefits. You've been deducting them from your pay. Districts have been able to deduct them as well as they add for you. So the IRS is hungry for their tax dollars. Any amount that you get from your pension will be taxable income. So that amount, whether it's $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, whatever that is, it will go on your 1040 as taxable income. So yes, your benefits are taxed at your income tax bracket rate. Question number 2, once I pick a pension option, can I change my mind? Or how flexible are these decisions once they are made? And the answer to this, and really one of the main reasons why we encourage our clients to come and meet with us before they make these decisions, is that they are not reversible. Once you fill out that benefit election form and say pick option 1, and you're going to roll your contributions and interest out, that is a final irrevocable decision. So even more important to sit down with a financial planner that you may have, or take us up on our offer to meet with you to go over your pension decision and make sure that you are comfortable with your options and you feel confident about the decision that you are making. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes here. Final frequently asked question, do my benefits affect my Social Security? And finally, I can give you a user-friendly answer and say they do not. Your PSERS benefits and your Social Security benefits are independent of each other. There are some other pension systems that preclude you from getting Social Security, and luckily PSERS is not one of them. The only way really that your pension benefit will affect your Social Security is if your pension's at a certain level, it may bump the taxation on your Social Security up a little bit. Social Security is taxed at various levels depending on what your income is. So if your pension benefit may bump you up into a higher level of Social Security taxation, and that's something that we'll get into in another session more focused on Social Security. We'll talk about the taxation of Social Security, but for our purposes, we should feel good that our pension benefit does not affect our Social Security benefit. So that wraps up our first challenge. So let's dive into challenge number 2, or in this case, really a question that we get asked quite often, and that's, what's the typical timeline for a retiree in the PSERS system? What does that last 12 months or that last school year look like? What do I have to do, and when do I have to do it? Which is a great question. Typically, and again, I emphasize typically because everybody's experience is a little bit different. Typically, the decision to retire happens sometime during the previous school year or over the summer or maybe even early on in the current school year. Everyone does this a little bit differently as they retire for different reasons. But generally, after the decision to retire happens, the next step is to request an official PSERS benefit estimate. And that's a very important next step, because with that estimate, we get officially unofficial numbers regarding the pension options. If you pick the maximum annuity, what will your benefit be? If you pick option 2, what will your benefit be? If you pick option 3 and roll your contributions and interest out, what will that look like? So we can take that estimate and have a pretty good idea of what your retirement income will look like in regards to your pension, which is very beneficial for financial planning purposes and making sure that you are prepared for your exit interview. So getting that estimate is very important. Most of our clients request that sometime between October and February or March. That's the typical time frame for requesting that estimate. So after you receive the estimate in the mail, again, there's some lag time between when you request it and when you get your official numbers back. During that time is when we generally meet with our clients after we have that estimate in hand and dive into which pension benefit is right for you. And also during that time, we can schedule our exit interview. So the exit interview is really where we make those elections, and for our clients, we like them to have those pension benefit decisions made before the exit interview. After we have our exit interview, you may set up a meeting with your school district HR office to talk about unused sick and vacation days. I know the IU HR office has those meetings just to wrap up any benefit discussions in your district or with the IU. So that comes next. And then we're off to the beach or something fun and relaxing and otherwise enjoyable with your free time. Another common question that we receive here, you're talking a lot about pension benefit estimates, and it seems like a pretty important thing. How do I go about getting that pension estimate? Is that a form I get in the mail and fill out? Where do I get that? Luckily, PSERS has a very user-friendly website. So if we hop over to the PSERS website, you can simply Google PSERS to make it easy on yourself. If we navigate down the left-hand column and find the Forms tab, if we click on Forms, that brings us to a page that has PDFs of all kinds of forms that you may need. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a retirement section, and within that retirement section you will find a PDF of the estimate request form. It will ask for some pertinent information and your theoretical retirement date, and it looks something like this. Pretty straightforward, and it also includes instructions on how and where to send the form to PSERS for it to be prepared for you. After you receive your estimates back, that is a great time to sit down and look over those numbers. If you have a financial planner and a financial plan, you can use those numbers to see what your long-term income projections look like and use those to help you make a good decision that you feel comfortable with. As we said previously, after receiving your benefit estimate and reviewing it, making a decision about your pension option, your decision about contributions and interest, the next step is to schedule your exit counseling or exit interview session. Those sessions are proctored by PSERS representatives. They are held at various locations around the area, some in school districts. I know the IU13 has hosted them in the past. You can find that schedule on the PSERS website. Generally, they're small group discussions of 6, 8, 10, 12, maybe a few more people. And you just sign up for those via the website. And most of our clients do their exit session sometime between January and April. That's the general time frame for our clients who are retiring in June. Again, all this time frame revolves around a theoretical June retirement. I know not everybody goes about it that way, but that's our assumption here. So that's your next step after receiving your estimate, is to schedule your exit counseling or exit interview session. All right, this brings us to our third and final challenge that we're going to discuss today, and that is that decision to retire. And really what that means is deciding to transition into the next phase of your life, whatever that means to you. Hopefully something exciting and beneficial to yourself, your family, your friends. But this isn't always the easiest decision to make, and I always like to use an example of one of our clients who we had this discussion with several years ago. This is a lady who has worked in her classroom for over 30 years and had built an incredible reputation and identity as this teacher in this school district, and everybody knew her and everybody loved her. After working through the financial implications of retirement, we asked her, so what's next? and she didn't have a very good answer. She didn't know what that next phase of her life looked like after leaving a career that she had given every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears that she had. And that's something I'm sure you all can relate to, is you're in a profession that demands so much of you personally and emotionally. And in your day-to-day work, retirement can look very promising. And if you remember back to one of the first slides, it can look like a light at the end of the tunnel for you. So this client here had finally reached that light at the end of the tunnel, and she realized that it wasn't something that she was ready to embrace. Even after thinking that all these years, all those tough classes and tough weeks, that retirement is what's going to make this all worth it. When the time came to make that decision, she realized that she wasn't ready for it. She wasn't ready to transition into something else, and she didn't know what she would fill her life with that gave her so much as her relationships with her school and her students and the parents. So she worked for a few more years, which is great. And that was really her retirement decision, was to not retire. So she went back to work, and I think that story illustrates that throughout your career, retirement may look and feel like this phase of your life that you can't wait to get to. But for many of our clients who have put in 25, 30, 35 or more years, they find that when the time comes that they can start thinking about this decision, that it really isn't as easy to embrace that light at the end of the tunnel and step through it into something else, even if there's a great opportunity for using your time in a different way in retirement. Thinking about how much your career brings you is just as important as looking at the dollars and cents of your pension and your 403b and all of the financial decisions around retirement. We can do that within an hour or so to find if the numbers work for you. But there's a personal and emotional side to this retirement decision that I think many people don't expect when they come to make this decision until they're there, and you can theoretically push the retirement button and move on to something else. So that's something that I want to make sure that you think about, and you embrace those feelings and allow yourself to think long and hard about this transition, and if it's right for you, not just today, but if it's going to be right for you 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road. That we like to help people think through, and if needed, find ways to make that next phase of their life just as exciting and fun, and making as big of an impact as they were in their classroom. That's incredibly important to us and to our clients. All right, well, that ends our session for today. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope the information was useful to you. Again, we're trying to condense this down from the live sessions so we don't get as specific as we would when we're together. So if you have a question, if you would like to get together to talk about your situation, please use the contact form below, and we can find the resources that you need. And stay tuned for announcements for our next session, which will be March 8th. And that's again a 4 o'clock and a 5 o'clock session at the IU13 Conference Center. Again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.